It was 7:42 p.m. A Tuesday. The kind of evening where dinner's already cold on the table. The streetlights are flickering on. And a boy, just 12 years old, was walking home. His name was Elijah Thomas. A quiet kid. 6th grade. Loved sketching comic book heroes in the margins of his notebooks. Carried a backpack that was too big for him, and dreams even bigger. He was 1 block away from his front door when the police cruiser pulled up. 11 seconds. That's how long it took from the moment Officer Daniel Krell opened his door to the moment Elijah Thomas lay face down on the ground. Bleeding. Motionless. Dead. The official report would later call Elijah a perceived threat. A hoodie. A cell phone mistaken for a weapon. He made a sudden movement, they said. But what happens when the person you shoot is a child? What happens when your instinct is fear, not because of what he did, but because of what he looked like? This isn't just the story of a mistake. It's the story of what happens when a system decides someone is dangerous before they ever say a word. A grieving mother. A community silenced. A body cam that went missing. And a secret grand jury that made sure no one was ever held responsible. Possible suspect. Black male. Dark hoodie. Walking northbound. Looks suspicious. Elijah Thomas was walking home. That's all. He never made it. And what happened next would tear an entire town apart. In the town of Ashford, population just under 20,000, the world turned quiet after the shooting. The kind of quiet that comes after a tragedy too painful to name out loud. But before Elijah's face made the evening news, before protests and press conferences, he was just a boy. A black boy. In a country that's always seen boys like him as something else. Born in October. Loved honey buns and cereal before school. Always left his sneakers in the middle of the hallway. His mom, Marlene Thomas, said he had a strange way of humming when he was nervous. A little song he made up, she said. No words. Just sounds. I told him to come straight home after basketball. It's cold. I said, don't hang around. He said, okay, Mama. That was the last thing he said to me. Elijah never had a record. Never so much as skipped class. But he lived with one unshakable reality. His skin color came with rules. Rules that white children never had to learn. If you ever get stopped, don't run. Don't move too fast. Don't reach for nothing. Keep your hands where they can see them. Why? Because they don't see you like I do, baby. Every black parent knows that conversation. The one where childhood ends a little too early. Elijah Thomas was buried 3 days after the shooting. His classmates came in uniforms. His teacher brought a stack of drawings Elijah had left behind. One showed a superhero flying over a burning city. He called it Justice Man. But for Elijah, justice never arrived. Not even a proper investigation. Say his name. Elijah Thomas. Say his name. Elijah Thomas. The Bible says, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. But today, Lord, we're empty. We are a family, a city, a people, starved of justice. They buried Elijah once. But that wouldn't be the last time. The second time was when the official report said it was justified. That's when the town of Ashford went quiet. But behind closed doors, Something wasn't adding up. I saw the footage before they deleted it. He wasn't holding anything. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Martin Luther King Jr. Tuesday, February 14th. Valentine's Day. Ashford Middle School had let out early. A snow advisory, though the sky never delivered. Elijah stayed late. He and a few other kids shot hoops in the gym after school. He texted his mom at 6:03 p.m. "On my way soon. Love you." It was the last message Marlene Thomas would ever receive from her son. Elijah exits through the back of the school. Alone. His backpack slightly dragging to one side. He walks with a shuffle, tired. Cold. The route home is familiar, past the corner gas station, 3 blocks, left on Pike Street. But 2 minutes after Elijah leaves the school lot, a 911 call is made. "Hi, yes, there's a kid. He's wearing a hoodie. Dark clothes. I think he's lurking near the gas station. Just looks off. Is he threatening anyone?" The initial report said Elijah matched the description of an armed suspect from a nearby burglary. There was no burglary. Not that night. Not even that week. Then, the narrative shifted. Officer Krell claimed Elijah reached suddenly into his waistband. No gun was found. Only a blue plastic inhaler. "No, but I just think someone should check." The caller never saw a weapon. Didn't claim Elijah was doing anything. Just that he looked suspicious. Officer Daniel Krell was first to respond. 10 years on the force. Disciplinary record sealed. Known for being tactical, as his sergeant would later put it. Dispatch, I have a visual on the subject. Black male. Hoodie. Appears to be walking northbound. I'm making contact. What happened in the next 11 seconds was not caught on body camera. Krell's was turned off. A malfunction, according to the department. Elijah Thomas was shot once in the chest. The bullet pierced his left lung. He was declared dead on arrival at St. Mercy's ER. The initial report said Elijah matched the description of an armed suspect from a nearby burglary. There was no burglary. Not that night. Not even that week. Then, the narrative shifted. Officer Krell claimed Elijah reached suddenly into his waistband. No gun was found. Only a blue plastic inhaler. I was watching from my window. That boy didn't run. He just stood there. He was scared. Didn't even say nothing. That officer, he got out with his hand already on the gun. Other witnesses would confirm the same. No commands. No warning. Just a flash of metal and a single, deadly shot. Department protocol requires all officers to activate their body cameras before making contact. Krell's wasn't recording. Internal Affairs later reported a technical failure. But leaked maintenance logs from 3 weeks earlier show Krell's camera had been tested, and passed. The footage of that night exists. Or it did. And someone made sure it was never seen. Elijah Thomas died 1 block from his home. His backpack lay in the street for nearly an hour. No one notified his mother until after 9 p.m. 2 officers came to my door. They said there was an incident. I asked if he was okay. They just said he didn't make it. From that moment, the story became something else entirely. The town divided. The media descended. And someone started scrubbing the truth. We had the file. It was there, and then one day, it wasn't. The system claimed it was a tragedy. The people? They knew it was something else. We deeply regret the loss of life. Officer Krell feared for his safety and followed department policy. Where's the body cam footage? There was a technical error. At this time, there is no available footage of the encounter. No footage. No disciplinary action. No charges. The department closed ranks. And the narrative? It shifted. Again. From armed suspect to suspicious movement. From a tragic accident to a necessary decision. Elijah's story spread like fire. National outlets picked it up. Civil rights attorneys flew in. His face, frozen at age 12, was everywhere. But something darker simmered under the surface. There was footage. I saw it. I processed it. The officer approached the boy without warning. Elijah had his hands up. This anonymous tech from the department's digital evidence unit claimed he reviewed body cam data the night of Elijah's shooting. The file was uploaded at 6:52 p.m. Titled, Officer Krell, Pike Stop. 3 hours later, the file was gone. Erased. Wiped from the central database. With only a single trace. A server ping logged to an internal access badge, Officer Krell's. An independent forensic audit revealed troubling inconsistencies. Body cam was accidentally deactivated, yet recorded metadata of movement. Server logs showed deletion attempts using admin credentials. Officer Krell's badge was used to access restricted archives at 2:03 a.m. No one else was on duty. Internal Affairs was pressured to investigate. But the chief suspended the audit team before it could finish. Their findings, sealed. In Ashford, fractures widened. Blue Lives Matter banners appeared overnight. Parents warned their kids not to speak up at school. Black students were pulled into the principal's office, for their safety. Elijah's classmates held a walkout. They were detained by police. And still, Officer Krell was on paid leave. No indictment. No charges. 2 weeks after Elijah's death, Marlene Thomas received a package. Inside, a burned CD. A handwritten note. They lied. He never had a chance. Share this before they destroy it too. It was the footage. The video is just 21 seconds long. But it told the entire story. Elijah posed no threat. No weapon. No aggression. Just fear. A child shot dead for walking home. The footage went viral in less than 24 hours. Federal authorities opened a civil rights investigation. Officer Krell was finally arrested, charged with manslaughter and falsifying evidence. The police chief resigned 2 days later. But even as the city rallied for justice, a deeper question remained. Why was Elijah even seen as a threat in the first place? Sound, old recording of school board meeting, racially coded language. Certain neighborhoods, and disruptive students. Because this wasn't just about one officer. It was about a system. Built to fear boys like Elijah. Even when they're just walking home. Elijah Thomas had never been arrested. He'd never been in a fight. No gang affiliations. No drugs. Just one detention, for being late to class. But in his school record, the word defiant appears 5 times. Aggressive, twice. And potentially disruptive, 3. These weren't criminal charges. They were characterizations. Made by adults. Based on fear. Based on race. The earliest note. 2nd grade. Elijah raised his voice while asking for help. Possible behavioral issue. In Ashford, black students made up just 22% of the population, but accounted for over 70% of disciplinary actions. And the police? Were always nearby. We're criminalizing childhood. We're teaching black kids they're guilty until proven innocent, or dead. Elijah wasn't a threat. But the system had already decided he could be. So it acted accordingly. With fear. With force. Without pause. In 2019, Krell tackled a 10-year-old black boy suspected of stealing candy. The boy was innocent. Krell wasn't punished. In 2021, he cuffed a 13-year-old for jaywalking. The child screamed and wet himself. Internal Affairs found no wrongdoing. Then, Elijah. 3 incidents. All boys. All black. All children. Still, he was cleared for street patrol. With a badge. And a gun. And no accountability. He was 12. He had asthma. He liked comic books and turtles. And you killed him like he was nothing. The crowd erupted. But behind her eyes, grief met resolve. Marlene filed a $50 million wrongful death suit. But she wasn't just after money. She wanted change. In the wake of Elijah's killing, Ashford defunded its school resource officer program, implemented body cam transparency laws, banned predictive policing software that flagged at-risk students, almost all of them black. The system didn't fail Elijah. It worked exactly how it was designed to. Investigators found that the elementary curriculum included skewed depictions of civil rights history. Black history, relegated to 1 week a year. Security drills emphasized threats, always dark-skinned silhouettes. One training manual read, "Watch for sudden movements. Certain demographics are more likely to resist." The message was clear. Elijah didn't need to do anything wrong. Just being there was enough. In the eyes of power, he was a problem. A profile. A prediction. Not a person. Elijah's room remains untouched. His turtle still lives, cared for by his cousin. Marlene doesn't sleep much anymore. But she writes. And speaks. And fights. Because in this country, too many mothers are forced to. We like to say, never again. But for Elijah, it was always just a matter of when. One boy, black, was walking home. One boy, white, brought a rifle to school. Elijah was shot. The other was offered mental health support. The story of Elijah Thomas didn't begin in a vacuum. It's part of a pattern. A cruel, undeniable one. Tamir Rice. 12, shot in 2 seconds for holding a toy gun. Ayanna Stanley Jones. 7, shot while she slept. Dejaria Becton. 15, slammed to the ground in a swimsuit. Jordan Edwards. 15, killed in a car leaving a party. Elijah Thomas. 12, walked home from school. Never made it. These aren't isolated tragedies. They are data points in a system that punishes black childhood for simply existing. Kyle Hillman, 17, brought a loaded weapon to school, fired it into the air, surrendered peacefully, given counseling, no criminal record. His parents said he was going through a phase. When a white teen acts out, we ask what happened to him. When a black teen does nothing wrong, we ask what was he planning. Media outlets framed Elijah as a suspected threat, though he had no weapon, no motive, no history. Kyle, who fired a gun, was troubled but talented. He played violin, they noted. Elijah did too. No one ever mentioned it. In America, innocence is not just about what you do. It's about how you look when you do it. A 2014 study found that black boys as young as 10 are viewed by police as older, less innocent, and more dangerous than their white peers. Elijah, at 12, was described in the officer's report as a young man. Kyle, at 17, a confused boy. We don't just deny black children protection. We deny them childhood. Black minors are 6 times more likely than white minors to be sentenced as adults for the same crimes, and often without physical evidence. In Elijah's case, there was no crime, just a presumption of guilt. In the 1990s, the super predator myth was born. Young black boys were described as remorseless, predatory, dangerous. That rhetoric never truly died. It just evolved. And sometimes, it pulls the trigger. Would Officer Krell have stopped him? Would he have drawn his gun? Would he have fired? Would he have said afterward, "I feared for my life"? The questions are uncomfortable, because the answers are too clear. In the land of the free, not all childhoods are created equal. Elijah's story is proof of that. Not just because he was killed, but because millions watched and said, there must be more to the story. As if being black and breathing wasn't already enough danger for one day. The officer acted within department policy. It was a regrettable situation, but justified. No further action will be taken. 12-year-old Elijah Thomas was shot, unarmed, walking home. The officer didn't even lose his badge, because the system was never designed to hold him accountable. Qualified immunity, a doctrine invented by the Supreme Court, not in the Constitution, not in any law, but powerful enough to block families like Elijah's from suing. It means, unless you can prove the exact same abuse happened before, and was ruled illegal, your case gets thrown out. In Elijah's city, a civilian review board was proposed, but it never passed. Police lobbyists fought hard, saying it would undermine morale. So now, officers investigate themselves. If Officer Krell shot a 12-year-old in a way no other 12-year-old was ever shot before, then legally, he gets away with it. The court didn't say Krell was innocent. It said he was protected. The police officers' union negotiated a contract. One that allows officers to view body cam footage before giving statements. One that seals disciplinary records. One that mandates a 72-hour delay before any questioning. Officer Krell used all 3. By the time he spoke to investigators, he already knew what the footage showed, what to say, what to avoid. In Elijah's city, a civilian review board was proposed, but it never passed. Police lobbyists fought hard, saying it would undermine morale. So now, officers investigate themselves. We gave them the power. They used it to protect their own. He reached for something. I thought it was a weapon. I feared for my life. These 5 words have cleared more officers than any law ever written. In America, fear is justification. But only when the victim is black. It's a routine. We've seen it before. Trayvon, Breonna, George, Elijah. Different names. Same defense. The law isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. Elijah's mother filed 3 civil rights complaints. All denied. The DOJ launched a review. It's been over a year. No findings released. By the time the system acts, if it ever does, the story has faded. The outrage dies. And the badge stays on. In Elijah's district, over $100 million is spent on policing annually. Less than $3 million goes to youth programs. Elijah lived in a neighborhood where police were everywhere. But there was no rec center. No mentoring. No investment in him. Until it was too late. We don't build systems that keep kids safe. We build ones that keep them watched. Elijah's name joined a growing list. But it didn't vanish. His mother kept fighting. Not just for her son, but for the next one. At first, it was just his block. Then his neighborhood. Then the whole city. A sea of faces. Some silent. Some screaming. But all demanding the same thing. Accountability. For a moment, the world looked. Just like they did for George. Just like they did for Tamir. But cities have a way of absorbing anger. Then smothering it in procedure. The district attorney announced charges. But not against Officer Krell. The charges? Endangering public safety. Against Elijah's friend. The boy walking beside him that night. He survived the shooting. Only to be charged for failing to comply. They're trying to bury everything. Even the child who lived. The video was supposed to speak for itself. But when investigators obtained it, 37 seconds were missing. The part where Elijah was shot. Blurry. Choppy. Gone. I reviewed the metadata. Someone manually edited the file. The footage they showed to the public wasn't the footage captured that night. A whistleblower sent it to the press. A strategic memo from the department's crisis team. It wasn't about truth. It was about control. The department didn't just mishandle the shooting. They choreographed the response. The language was clear. Frame the child as aggressive. Highlight past discipline records. Deflect. Delay. Dismiss. Activists organized. Not for one night. But for every night. They demanded 3 things. Charges against Officer Krell. Public release of unedited footage. Independent investigation of the department. If the system won't protect our kids, we will. Speaking out came at a price. The family received threats. Online. In person. Even from unknown numbers traced back to police precincts. They weren't just grieving a son. They were fighting a war. After nearly a year, Krell was called to testify. Not in a criminal trial, But in a civil deposition, he answered every question with the same phrase. "I don't recall. I feared for my life. I followed protocol. Protocol was a ghost. It meant everything and nothing. A shield against truth. They never showed us the raw footage. They kept calling it a tragedy. Not a crime. We wanted to charge him. But we were told we couldn't. The case never reached criminal trial. It was closed. Officer cleared of wrongdoing. Elijah's name was wiped from the docket. Not from memory. Not from the streets. Why was a child treated as a threat? Why was the truth edited away? Why do we protect the uniform more than the body it harms? These aren't just questions for Elijah. They're for all of us. For every family still waiting for answers. For every community still under siege. After the news cycle moved on. After the vigils faded. And the signs came down. Elijah's mother, Tanya, was still waking up at 3 a.m. Still setting a plate at the table. Still walking past an empty room. She wasn't just grieving. She was documenting. Every detail. Every file. Every lie. She knew the system was designed to forget. So she made it her mission to remember. "You say this isn't about race," she told the council. "Then why is my boy the one who's dead? Why do you teach officers to shoot before they speak? Why did your body cams lose 37 seconds? But my son lost forever." Tanya began pushing for legislation. A law that would require independent oversight in police shootings involving minors. Mandatory, unedited body cam release. Mental health response units for all nonviolent calls involving children. She called it the Elijah Act. They called her relentless. Some called her dangerous. But no one could ignore her. A year after Elijah's death, Tanya appeared before Congress. Her voice still soft. But her words cut deep. "Elijah was my only son. He was a reader, a dreamer, and a dancer. He was 12 years old. Not a suspect." The video went viral. Hashtags returned. Celebrities spoke out. Even the White House called. The Elijah Act passed its first vote. Then its second. Then stalled. But Tanya kept going. State by state. One chamber after another. It wasn't about one win. It was about refusing to disappear. The way they tried to make her son disappear. Back home, Elijah's school created a space in his name. Not for mourning. But for memory. Bookshelves. Journals. Headphones. A quiet room where kids can sit when the world feels too loud. It became a sanctuary for those who felt like Elijah. Misunderstood. Over-policed. Not protected. We couldn't bring him back. But we could build a place where another Elijah feels seen. Officer Krell never faced trial. He quietly resigned. Relocated. Disappeared. No public apology. No statement. Just, gone. Sometimes, the ones who fire the shots walk away untouched, while the families carry the wound forever. And yet, something shifted. Cities began changing use of force policies. Departments began training on child encounters. Some states passed their own versions of the Elijah Act. Elijah's name began appearing. Not just on protest signs, but on laws. Elijah once told his mother he wanted to dance on Broadway. He never got the chance. But in the movement he sparked. In the laws he inspired. In the murals painted in his name. Elijah moves. They tried to erase him. But Elijah Thomas became a name the system couldn't forget. A name that echoes through every child walking home. Through every mother who refuses to stay silent. And through every one of us who dares to say, he was just a boy. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Also remember to hit the notification button so you can be the first to be notified when we upload a new video.